A 5-hour high-stakes diplomatic meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner concluded in Moscow without a breakthrough on ending the Ukraine war. Kremlin aide Yuri Yushakov described the talks as useful, constructive, and informative, while Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova emphasized that the discussion would remain confidential and focus on result rather than appearance. Despite Western media reports claiming Russia dismissed American proposals outright, Moscow rejected these characterizations, insisting some U.S. suggestions were considered worthy of examination. The meeting produced no final agreement, as both sides maintained their core positions, with Russia accepting certain elements of the American peace framework while rejecting other deemed unacceptable, particularly regarding territorial concessions and military limitations for Ukraine. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has not yet commented publicly on the outcome, while Ukrainian officials expressed concerns about being excluded from direct negotiations between Moscow and Washington. President Putin indicated that key aspects of the U.S. plan to resolve the conflict remain unacceptable to Moscow, signaling any potential deal remains distant. In comments reported by Russian news agencies, Putin described recent negotiations with American envoys as necessary and useful, but also difficult work requiring significant compromise. He accused Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky of cornering himself by blocking elections and peace negotiations, claiming Zelensky's approval rating have collapsed and a power shift in Kyiv is inevitable. Putin maintained his firm stance that peace can only be achieved on Russia's terms, including demands for Ukraine to accept territorial losses and accept limits on its military capabilities, a position Kyiv has consistently rejected as undermining its sovereignty and security. The Russian leader's uncompromising position reflects Moscow's confidence bolstered by recent battlefield gains and its assessment that Western unity on Ukraine support may be weakening as the conflict enters its third year. Russia has reported several battlefield advances, including the capture of Chovanoy village in Zaporizhzhia regions, and claimed control over Pokrovsk despite Kyiv's strong denial. The Kremlin released footage of Putin in military fatigues declaring victory in Pokrovsk just hours before his scheduled meeting with U.S. envoys, a move analysts suggest was intentionally timed to project strength and battlefield dominance during negotiations. Russian military reports describe heavy Ukrainian casualties, with Moscow estimating over 1,260 personnel losses and claiming destruction of Western supply equipment, including German and Czech weapon system. These battlefield updates accompanied Putin's diplomatic engagement as Moscow sought to strengthen its negotiating position by demonstrating military momentum, particularly as winter fighting intensifies across multiple frontline sectors. The timing of the military announcement appears calculated to influence the diplomatic process, giving Putin additional leverage when discussing territorial concessions and security guarantees with American representatives. European leaders expressed concerns about being sidelined from peace negotiations, with French President Emmanuel Macron reportedly warning allies that the United States might betray Ukraine during talks with Russia, according to a leaked transcript published by Der Spiegel. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte stressed that Ukraine must enter peace talks from a position of strength, while cautioning that Russia must recognize two realities: Western weapons will continue flowing into Ukraine and economic sanctions will intensify. Rutte gave a stark warning after Putin's meeting with U.S. envoys, stating that NATO remains ready and willing to do what it takes to protect its people and secure territory despite Russian threats. Several NATO members, including Latvia and Norway, dismissed Putin's warning of wider war as disinformation and psychological pressure aimed at frightening the alliance into concessions over Ukraine. The European anxiety reflects growing concerns that Washington may prioritize rapid conflict resolutions over securing favorable terms for Kyiv, potentially leaving European nations to manage long-term security consequences. The diplomatic landscape remains complex, with Hungary's Foreign Minister Putin Szijjarto accusing European leaders of actively working to undermine U.S.-led peace efforts between Ukraine and Russia. Szijjarto claimed Brussels is acting against Kyiv's interests by dictating Ukraine's red line rather than allowing Kyiv to pursue its own negotiating position. Meanwhile, leaked industrial files suggest Russia is deep into productions of dozens of Su-35 fighter jets for Iran, marking one of the largest air power transfer in the region in years. As battlefield realities continue to shape diplomatic possibilities, both sides acknowledge much work remains before any sustainable peace agreement can be reached, with Yushakov noting that while no compromise has been found on territorial issues, peace is not further away, that's for sure. The situation remains fluid, with multiple diplomatic channels operating simultaneously and military development continuing to influence negotiating positions on all sides as the conflict approaches a potentially decisive phase in early 2025. If you haven't made it this far, congratulations, you have unlocked the truth. I want to ask you a quick question though. Given Putin's firm stance on territorial concessions and Ukraine's insistence on sovereignty, can meaningful peace negotiations succeed when both sides maintain fundamentally incompatible positions on the conflict's core issues? And why? Join the debate. We want to hear your insightful opinion on where this is all heading in our community. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I appreciate your support. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Like the video, share this video with friends and family, hit the notification bell, and most importantly, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.